Today, we'll take a look at the new Louisiana congressional map, where Republicans are poised to gain an extra seat. So as always, we'll take a look at the current map, the new map, and we'll see what the balance might look like if it was fair. So here we go. We've got Governor Jeff Landry. He signed the new map into law. Now, you might remember Louisiana actually already did have their primaries, but for the U.S. House, I guess that's been canceled, and now it's been moved to the general election date of November 3rd. So obviously this happened after the fallout of the Supreme Court decision. Now that means some states are going to redraw their maps, and they're going to do it based on partisan lean, not necessarily based on race. It's a whole other topic, but the end result is Republicans are going to regain a seat here that they had up until the last election. And of course, there could always be more court challenges, but for now, I'm going to assume this map is going to stand. We'll look more in depth at it at the end. But there's 6 districts here. Republicans are going to have 5 of them, Dems have 1. Prior to the new map, Republicans had 4 seats, Dems had 2. So before we look more at this, let's look at the map that was used in the last election. So this is what was struck down, and a lot of the conversation does center around race, so that all depends on how you want to look at it when it comes to drawing maps. Maybe you think it's a good thing to favor race, maybe you don't. Maybe you think more like I do, that the fairer metric would be to just focus on the partisan lane. Sometimes that overlaps like in this state. That's why you've got these 2 districts. This one, I think, looks like an airplane, and that covers a lot of the New Orleans area. Then you've got this other district here that was added, and that's going to go from Baton Rouge all the way northwest up to Shreveport. They didn't have to draw the map this way to get a second Democratic district, so I do think Republicans in this state specifically drew it this way, so it would ultimately get thrown out at the Supreme Court because it relies way too heavily on race, and obviously the shape of this district not pretty at all. So the geography, not good at all here, and there's really not going to be any competition in these districts. The 4 red ones are going to be super red. Republicans aren't going to really compete in the 2 blue ones. So let's look a little closer at the 6th district here. So your rep here is Cleo Fields. You've got a median household income here of about $50.5K. The racial makeup is 54% black, 36% white, less than 5% Hispanic, and the Cook PVI rates it at D+8. So not extremely blue, but blue enough to where Dems are going to win. And if you take a look at the recent results, let's start here in 22. Dems didn't even compete here, it was just too red. Then in the last election, Cleo Fields won by 13%, and he also avoided the runoff. So Cleo Fields definitely extremely vulnerable on this new map. If we look at the Cook PVI on the new map, then these are all at least R+16, including the 6th district with Cleo Fields. The one blue one is overwhelmingly blue at D+25, so Dems not really going to compete in these districts at all. It looks like Fields is still going to run, but he's going to face a whole host of Republican challengers. So when it comes to a more fair or balanced map, let's start with the top. Here's the 24 presidential results. Trump at 60%, Harris at 38%. So a 22-point gap, it's a pretty red state. There's a few blue counties here and there, especially in the more populated areas, but a lot of these counties are deep, deep red. If we go back to 2020, it was just a little bit more narrow. Here, Trump at 58.5, Biden at under 40. And as far as just the U.S. House, statewide Republicans got 65.5, Dems at 34.2. But in one of those districts, it was all Republicans, so Dems missing some vote there. So that can skew things a little bit. But overall, it's close to a 2-to-1 ratio of Republicans to Democrats. It's just a little bit under that, but if you're looking for a balanced map in terms of the statewide partisan lane, then it's pretty easy. 4 Republicans, 2 Dems. It doesn't really get much cleaner than that. Now, that doesn't really factor in geography or communities of interest. Sometimes that can be more of a factor in some states than others. But just to go back to the last blue wave midterm year of 2018, this time it was Republicans 57.2, Dems 37.9. So it's been pretty consistent here for a little while in terms of the partisan makeup. But in this race, there was no Republican in the 2nd district. Instead, a Libertarian candidate pulled in 19.4%. And you can see back then that was on the previous 5-to-1 map. So let's finish it up by taking a look at this new map. Now, right off the bat, the geography also not pretty here at all. The 2nd district cuts right into the 6th, which is kind of surrounding most of it. That's not pretty, but obviously this is all about the partisan advantage. Republicans are going to get another seat out of this. Now, if we focus over here on the right, this has the presidential results for 24. The 1st district is 68% Republican. The one blue one is 73% Dem. The 3rd is 67% Republican. The 4th is also 67, the 5th is 66, and the 6th, that's 65. So you can see Dems really not going to have a shot here. It's going to be a 5-to-1 map. There's not any mystery here. So let's switch over to the precinct view. Let's see how some of this vote is broken up. So if we go back and toggle this, focus on the 2nd district here, you can see how much of that blue vote is packed right in there. So that's going to cover a lot of New Orleans all the way to Baton Rouge. Now, there are some other scattered blue precincts here, but sometimes that's just a lot of land and not that many people. And then you can see how this 6th district here, that also takes in a ton of the surrounding red vote, and it does absorb some of that other blue vote. You can see it such as right here. After that, for the rest of the state, if you go up to Shreveport here in the Northwest, the population there is under 200K, so that can fit easily into another district that has a lot of red vote. So there's not a whole lot of cracking and packing in much of the rest of the state. The bulk of that pretty much takes place where we already looked. So not a super clean looking map at all. But it's going to get the job done. Republicans are going to gain another seat here. And overall, not a super fair map if you do what I do and start at the top and look at the statewide partisan lane. Without even getting into the racial dynamics, a 4-2 map, that would easily be one of the fairer maps out there. You could do the same thing in a bunch of other states, red and blue just the same. Both sides taking that partisan advantage. Hopefully, eventually, that leads to everybody getting tired of seeing it happen on every side, and maybe some changes are eventually made. But overall, the makeup of this map is not super different than the one we saw used before 2024 in the state. But this is what we've got in the latest round of mid-decade redistricting, as it seems like every state is trying to push it to the extreme. Republicans could have gone to a 6-0 map here, but that didn't happen. Might happen after 26, but that prevents this from being one of the most egregious maps out there. But that's it, so let me know in the comments, what do you think about this new Louisiana map? Do you focus on the partisan lean, or do you focus on race? Do you think it should be a 4-2 map? Are Republicans going to go 6-0 after the midterms? What about the geography here, and how do you think this map compares to some of the other ones? Let me know what you think down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.